Hello.
Oh my, it's nice and quiet in here.
It's a spooky atmosphere.
I can hear the ghosts.
Very mysterious little track we got going here. Today is the day we should be finishing Teppei Higurashi.
Hopefully.
I'm excited. This may even be the video.
It might be. I think it is. I think the anime is only like one episode from the end right now in the timeline.
Okay.
Which is like 20 minutes, but I think this will be much longer than that.
I've been told that apparently there was a line in the last few videos that was different in the anime, that apparently...
Which line?
We should keep... I haven't... The thing is, right, and I'm miffed about this, I've been told that a line that I shouldn't know about because it might be spoilers might be better in the anime, but I'm not going to tell you because it might be spoilers, so...
Wait, but why can't why did you tell me before we went live?
What do you mean?
What?
Because this is a bit where we're making fun. We're making fun of the person who kindly sent me this information.
Oh, I see.
To show them our appreciation for their engagement.
Yeah.
Whilst also dishing on them.
Also dishing on them because they might have spoiled you?
Well, they didn't spoil me. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. Oh, because they just haven't told you anything about... Okay, well, if you can tell me who that person is, I'll have a chat with them, because I know all of the things, obviously. But, like... yeah, that sounds like useless information. Thank you for your assistance, but yeah.
So...
in the last couple of videos? Which one?
This is a really exciting point in the story here.
Is it now?
Because I think we've had what may well be the biggest twist so far.
Oh, have we?
So, like, you know, the whole thing in Arc 1 where, like, you know, everyone starts turning on Keiichi, I feel like that was pretty, like, it was set up in such a way that it was a long time coming. Like, it was obvious that Keiichi was starting to perceive things differently. It was obvious that the others were, like, you know, in his perception, pushing against him. When it came around to, you know, Shion being the bad guy in Arc 2, you know, that had been set up the whole goddamn time. Now that we're here with Irie having been twisted around, like, that is incredibly interesting to me because on the one hand, it's like a twist that hasn't been built up much at all, which also makes me think it's true. Because at this point in the story with Keiichi's mental space, where he's obviously like imagining a lot of things, again, not quite in the same way as Arc 1, but he's, you know, like imagining that either he killed Teppei, or imagining that Teppei's corpse isn't there when it is, like one of those two things. The fact that we've had next to no setup for Irie being someone working against Keiichi makes me feel as though that's actually more believable because we couldn't see it coming.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you've had some time between the last video and today to kind of think about this. So yeah, I was just like, in my mind, I was like, which twists are you referring to?
Yeah,
but yeah, no. Irie is a character who has only just showed up in this arc, and we've only had like 2 or 3 real conversations with him. And he seems like he knows a bit more than certainly what Keiichi does and what we do.
Yeah. I think also a lot of the lines that we've had surrounding Irie since that twist, like the mention of the mountain dogs, you know, that's like proper noun, right?
Sure.
We're not just abandoning that, because like a lot of other names in this story that don't have significance have just been given the blank treatment. Mountain dogs was very specifically given capital letters, its own time on screen.
I'm thinking it's just a cuddly dog that lives in the mountain, right?
I'd hope so, right?
Yeah, like a cute little dog. Just like hangs out, and you give it treats and it licks your face, and that's it.
Yeah, because I think the way that I was expecting this arc to go was that we were gonna get through 1500 seconds, Teppei would be dead,
and then that'd be
Keiichi would be nuts, claw out his own throat, end of story.
Yeah.
But we've been
very Arc 1.
Yeah, we've been thrown this epic curveball right here at the end, and I don't want to say it's thrown me off guard.
Well, yeah, I mean, this story gets to its logical conclusion with the murder.
Yes.
Because that's where both the other arcs have ended, with an on-screen, like, murder, and that's where the story ends. But we've seemed to have a fair amount of time in investigating it like a detective might, you know? Like, we're presented with a very kind of strange puzzle in terms of the murder mystery fiction, because we know, or we think we know maybe, we know that Keiichi maybe killed Teppei.
Yes.
And we're exploring the truth of what we've already seen, right?
Yeah, I think the other thing that's kind of fun about this one is that we've seen, like, the extreme side of being inside the head of someone going mad.
Sure.
We've seen the extreme side of being outside the head of someone going mad. And now, even though Keiichi's perspective is probably more extreme than it was in Arc 1,
sure,
the results are less extreme, so we're kind of going for more of a middle ground, if you...
We are.
And as I think we mentioned last time, it also calls into doubt whether or not the previous arcs murders actually happened.
It does.
Which is a crazy idea in a murder mystery, and it's something that, like, at face value, I would say, well, that's incredibly far-fetched, but at the same time, this is more of a horror novel than it is a murder mystery, so I absolutely would not put it past this story to say that just a bunch of the murders didn't happen at all.
The ambiguity of Teppei's death is definitely a big point of Tatari. It's one of the, like, it's definitely like the biggest mystery that we're dealing with here. And yeah, we're not trying to figure out who killed who. We're trying to figure out if there was a murder at all.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. And yeah, I do think that as I point out in the Umineko playthrough, I think a bit more, but Higurashi always likes to write reactionary to his previous work. And I definitely think that he was trying to throw the reader a curveball with, like, hey, have you considered the supernatural? Have you considered that things might not be happening how we think they're happening? Are there some inconsistencies in the narration? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that he's really bringing to light in this arc. There have been implications in the other arcs, I think especially Arc 1, but this is the one that he really brings it to the forefront. And I think that is also kind of the precursor to his further exploration in his other works. This like unreliable narrator.
I think it's also very obvious, for me at least, that I'm still not, even though I'm consciously trying, even if I'm not very successful at it, trying to consider the more supernatural perspective. Like, I've obviously not been successful as that because
it's not your shtick.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up the idea that he could have, like, been actually resurrected or brought back from the grave. When given the supernatural pretense of the story, that's very much a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, you said something last time about how maybe every time Keiichi kills someone, he, like, hops timelines or some shit, which would be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Are you moving towards more kind of supernatural interpretation? Do you think that's likely?
I'm definitely becoming more open to it as we go forward, but I still feel very much that it's going to be in the way of there is a supernatural interpretation you can take of this story that reflects the way things might have really happened. Just because that's the way I prefer to kind of think about stories that have a supernatural element to them. Like, unless the premise is explicitly, we're in a fantasy setting.
Sure, yeah.
I prefer to think of it as, like, gosh, I'm trying to think. Let's say, like, Lord of the Flies, for example. The way that it's written, the, like, Hog's head or whatever that's a part of the story is written as though it's, like, this powerful deity with flies swarming around it, and, you know, that's, like, it's obviously not that.
Yeah. It's obvious its significance being conflated by the situation that the characters are in. For sure. Yeah, and I don't think that so far Higurashi has... it hasn't completely changed its premise or anything. We're just seeing different kind of angles on the situation.
Alrighty, let's go.
Yeah, into the tips we go. Alrighty, inquiry request.
I feel... Did we have another tip called inquiry request?
I don't think so. We have had some inquiry requests, but I don't think that we've had this tip before.
I think this might be, like, part of a set of tips.
Maybe.
We definitely had one earlier, even if not by this name, like, looking back on not Sadako's uncle, but was it her aunt, or was it her father, or was it both?
Sure. Well, we've had a series of tips. I feel like after every chapter, actually, it's been like a through line of these tips looking into Sadako. Because at first it was the trap thing, while we were still in the happy fun times. Like, here's the different trap courses, and then the trap stopped because communication stops, and then it was, here's all these governmental documents looking into the Hojo case. So yeah, I guess I'll take this one then, will I?
Let's go.
Okonomiya Police Station Command Center transmission recording. June 20, 8:08 p.m. It's quite late in the day. What are you doing out that late? My goodness. This is The Okonomiya Security Police, we read you loud and clear. Hello, we'd like you to look up a license plate for us. XXXXXXX. There's a dash in this somewhere. Yes, alright. Please give us just a moment to look it up. Thank you. Number match.
That's not...
Lots of X's. Owner.
Redacted.
Blanks. Redacted. Everything is redacted. Hinamizawa Village, Shishibune. Vehicle make and modder, also just gone. Death reports, none. Special mentions, nothing of note. This entire tip is just gonna be nothing. Like, I hope that's what it is. I hope it just ends here. Oh dear. Okay. Hey. Okay. Oishi Security Police to Oishi. We found the license plate familiar. Oh, Field Oishi, do you read me? Field Oishi, please respond. Am I getting bad signal? Hey, shitty Russian hardware. Anyone in Field Oishi's car, please read. Nothing, eh? Oishi-san wanted a license plate check. Whose car was it? Someone from the village. A completely average car. Who was it? If Field Oishi-san was asking, then it can't be anyone good, right?
But if Spatial Oishi was asking...
Yeah, if Oishi from country was asking City Oishi where a license plate was, I could tell him, yes. The special mentions column is completely blank. Office Oishi. No indication it's related to the S-Group either.
That's the Sonozakis for everyone not keeping track.
Yep, that's the Sonozaki Oishis. And not the merits on it. This is a stupid bit.
Have you read that? I
did, and not the merits on it. I said it while you were looking the other way because you were laughing so hard, trying to not get it in the mic. Maybe it pressed him on the road and he got mad. That guy isn't the type to forget grudge.
I should keep track
Grudge
of that.
Oishi.
That's the note that we end on?
That's it.
So Oishi...
He is no longer Field Oishi, he's Grudge Oishi.
So... Everything we learned from that was Oishi holds a grudge.
Yeah, I guess so. And they're looking for a car or something. I don't know. What do you make of that? We were laughing very hard. If you want to go through it again and check.
No. I mean, like, basically they're saying that Oishi's asking after someone. It has to be for a reason, unless it's a grudge or both.
It's true.
So, like, I don't know.
Who could it be?
Who if we establish a grudge with Oishi who owns a car? They're all teenagers.
They are, yeah.
The only person we've seen driving a car in this story, other than random background NPCs, was Takano.
Takano's the only person with a car, and the only people that he might have a grudge against are the kids that he chases every damn arc with varying levels of good relationships with. I don't know.
I mean, I assume... because it's the only real piece that it could tie into, is that he's like, well, hey, Takano's car, we found that one.
Maybe, yeah.
And she's been burned alive in an oil drum. Funny that.
Yeah.
Record of malice.
Record of malice! Oh, no. This is you.
Who's this is me?
This is Sadako.
Oh, I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah.
God, this is...
Good luck. Just... feel awful about yourself and you're ready.
He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smelled because I don't take baths. He said to take a bath 3 times a day because I was a smelly person. He said I had to stay in the bath for a long time, every time. He must be possessed by something too. This is the same thing the man who died said. Why does he know what the man that said... Why does he know what that man said before? That much is obvious. The same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And then I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in. I won't cry. I won't give in. I won't cry. Someone is apologizing again.
What?
There you go. There's some weird tips this time.
Yeah.
Normally we get like these big... like interesting chunks of information, but these are more like personal anecdotes.
Yeah, that's really strange.
It is, isn't it? It's cool. I think that might be the kind of shift that we see as we go through the arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to pull anything from this.
So that he must be possessed by something too.
Yeah.
Is the real kicker here. Like the same thing the man who died said. Who's the man that died?
Oh.
Like, the implication I feel in the short term is that it's Teppei, but at the same time it can't be Teppei because Teppei's not dead. And then also, who else would she want to push in the hole except Teppei?
Oh.
Like, why does he know what that man said before is so strange. And then this one, like, why can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? I feel as though this is, like, alluding to the swamp in some way, the idea that it's like a bottomless pit.
I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna discuss this with you. Good luck.
You would definitely go and look into it. Like, the other thing that I grabbed from this is that it very much alludes to what we've heard about Sadako's parents' deaths. Like, the idea of, like, you know, looking into the big hole, because supposedly they're on a viewing platform above a river or whatever. The idea that it was, you know, that man before could have been Sadako's father with what she was, like, making up about her father. There was the thing I said about, like, what if Sadako was responsible for her parents' deaths, and this is, like, alluding to that, like,
maybe,
I pushed them in or whatever. And then, I don't know, this is, like...
It's weird.
It's such a piece of non-information, but that makes me feel like I should be getting more from it than I am.
I mean, it's one of those things where you watch a movie and you hear, like, the old man, you know, at the start of the movie, he's, like, ranting and raving, and he's like, the bird will see the sky and turn to stone. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And then right at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, there was that thing, you know?
Yeah. And the other one I like is this. Someone is apologizing. This is something that I don't know how much I brought it up, but the whole, like, I'm sorry motif keeps getting more and... I don't actually know what I want to say. Like, it appears more often, but sticks around for less time and comes from more characters.
Sure.
Like, it's becoming more spread out amongst the cast, I think. This kind of, like, apologizing, like, repetitively and furiously. Furiously, perhaps the wrong word.
I don't know. Maybe.
Anyhow.
Move on then.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the weirder tips we've had the whole time.
I don't expect any concrete reasoning from you, but those are definitely worth keeping in mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, I guess this is you. Oh, I get to be Field Oishi again.
The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Sadako had said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much, no matter what strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Sadako, I became a demon.
Oh, shit.
And this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Sadako's uncle, then that would have been fine. Since Sadako's uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over again until Sadako was liberated.
Good plan?
Fantastic.
Have I ever told you the definition of insanity?
What a good character.
What a good game. Character.
Just character.
Yeah, just character. Anyway.
I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see that it was earlier in the morning, just about 5. It was already light outside. Once I'd hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'll do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away. I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I let my mind wander and had a strange thought. These 2 days, while I've said it was for Sadako's sake, the only thing on my mind has been killing. I've said it was for Sadako, but while actually carrying out the act, I had completely forgotten about Sadako, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for Sadako's sake. But now I was just a demon killing for the sake of killing. And as a result, I'd sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Sadashi. He'd resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Sadako, became a demon, then disappeared from the sunlit Hinamizawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that after all was said and done, I'd met the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistakes, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Sadashi was here. Sadashi had come to this world a year before me. So he would be here somewhere. Then surprised, I stopped walking. There was a second set of footsteps I'd grown so used to hearing. Could you be Satoshi? The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer, but I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Let's go, Satoshi. Once more. This time we'll set Sadako free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they called me now when I'd been out way too late for 2 days now, they'd give me a really angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes and then take them with me so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'd do it again. I'd kill him again, and this time I'd set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter to me. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and that other Keiichi Maebara. Even without me, he'd fill in. I could vanish from Hinamizawa without anyone noticing. So basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Keiichi Maebara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Sadako's sake, then that was just part of my duty as her nini. As those desperate thoughts became more serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough.
This is like... I mean, it was obviously paralleling the, like, madness we've had in the previous arcs, but I think this is, like, the most literal we've gotten in terms of how Shmion was speaking at the end of last arc.
Right, yeah.
Like, the whole, I'm a demon talk, it's not me, the other me is gone kind of thing. It's like, we've gone from paralleling to parroting.
Yeah, for sure. Very similar state of mind, I think.
Oh, this one's scary. Let's go with this. It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood.
Oh!
It's hefty.
Hers
isn't a hatchet, hers is a cleaver, right?
That's up for debate, but that's a whole other thing.
I see where...
Yeah.
I know what...
In the anime, it is... No. In the anime, it is always a cleaver, I believe. But in the novel, I don't think they ever specify a cleaver, at least in the first arc, so it's technically an axe. And there are some other discrepancies throughout the series.
I see.
So it's not actually always her like very famous cleaver, her nata that she wields.
I see.
Anyway, this is also Rena's, is what I'm trying to say.
Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that. So I wrapped it in some old newspaper and tossed it in the basket of my bike.
That sounds legit.
Is this like when people bring alcohol in paper bags on the train and they're drinking it? It's like, oh geez, what could that be?
It's nothing. I'm just reading the paper. Glug glug. Also, I love that this like happy fun time music has come on.
I know.
We're going off to murder again. It's gonna be a great time.
Sorry for using you for evil all the time.
Shabba-da-doo.
I'll need you again today, my legs.
Like, this is one thing I've always loved about the way Ryukishi does music, is that like, he will put the most uncomfortable music for a scene in a scene to try tell a different story. Like, in my head, the reason we probably have this music is because Keiichi, not non-demon Keiichi, per se, is the one that's actually about to experience this day.
Sure.
So like, we're hearing the inner monologue of the head that's actually being perceived by the public while reading the inner monologue of the madness.
Sure.
I apologized to my bike for some reason. For the past 3 days, I've only used it for dangerous things. I've been riding this bike ever since I lived in my old town. I could walk most places I wanted to go, so I hadn't used it all that much. My mom had bought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station, since it was far away. So I'd always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket too. I never tried to put hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in here.
Bit of a change,
Just a little.
This is a career change,
When I came to Hinamizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever and had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but It was my greatest wish that I could get them back even if I had to risk my life to do it. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. I didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay, but still, the times I had had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime.
That's such a good line.
It really is.
I love it.
It's fantastic.
Oh.
My friends were irreplaceable and the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure.
God, the way that Ryukishi frames the theme of, like, protecting your friends and, like, trying to get the good times back, but it's through murder. Like, the way that he's framing that with the phrasing here and the happy music, like, the nostalgic music from, like, remember when we were doing the club activities and just, like this is the music that he uses for, like, the bike ride to or the walk to school or whatever. Like, he's framing this scene as being similar by association.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he's doing that.
I think that's a much more sensible suggestion than what I made when the music started.
Yeah.
I think
That's all right. That's all right. We're up for interpretation.
I mean, listen, we're all about throwing things out on the table here.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think, like, the themes of friendship in the story have definitely, like, they've always been very present, but I think this is the point at which in the story they're starting to take the most of a front seat.
Yeah.
Like, alongside the other things.
Well, he's putting it more at the forefront. He's using his own experience, and this is why I love Ryukishi as a writer. He's taking his own personal experience with social services and child work, and he's framing that awful tragedies that he has experienced himself to be like, these are the things that some people might do if they were put in that situation. If you're put in the worst situation possible, but you really just, you want to get out of it, what would you do, you know?
Yeah.
Or like something that you care about is threatened, you know?
I also would like to, and maybe this is something we should do for the recaps, but I'd like to see a breakdown of this as like a criticism on utilitarian thinking.
Sure.
Like the whole, you know, ends, like, do the ends just justify the means type thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I find that, I don't want to go on a huge tangent about this because I'm not super, like, read up on it, but I know that a lot of the kind of moral arguments to come around murder and killing is, like, it's either, like, you could kill one person to save 5 people, is that morally justifiable? Or, like, would you sacrifice yourself for a puppy? But, the question that Ryukishi is asking is, would you turn yourself into a murderer to protect someone else?
Yeah.
Right? Would you become a worse person for someone else if you thought that would help them?
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that is not usually discussed, like in moral philosophy. At least it's not something that I've like heard a lot of jazz about.
I think the thing is that, at least from my experience with like formal philosophy, it's, you know, the whole deontological virtue and consequentialist theory.
Sure.
It typically, like, you know, people will be like, well, you could look at it from the consequentialist perspective, and you know, saving 100 people for the sake of murdering one of them is obviously the right thing to do.
Technically, logically okay, but
But like, it's one of the things I hate about formal philosophy is that it's not practical
at all.
Yeah, you can't apply it at all.
No, you can't, and that's kind of the problem with philosophy in general. But yeah, I mean that's the challenge.
I can't remember exactly where it was we were discussing this, but the whole idea that stories are a better way to explore philosophy than formal philosophy.
I think that's just my life in general. Like, that's just something that I tell people all the time. Even when I go to like as I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm going to marketing and stuff. Like, I always say, the way to get your message across to a person isn't to tell them, my toothpaste is 93.6% better. It's to say, here is a happy family using their toothpaste. Oh no, the boy, like, scraped his knee, but there's a band-aid to be put on. You know, like, there's a story there.
Yeah.
Whenever you're arguing anything, it is always better to find an emotional connection and a way to make that argument.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always mean that your argument is correct. Like, I definitely think that what Ryukishi is posing here is a subjective argument. I don't think that most people would say that murder is okay in any circumstance. But that's why we're here having that argument, obviously. But yeah, like, formal philosophy is too far out there to just be argued on its own. You need to give stories and practical examples. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, I definitely have more to say on that, but
maybe in the recap.
In the recap, I think.
Maybe just cut everything I said there and just paste it in the recap.
Yeah, just paste it in the recap.
Just paste in the recap.
If there's just a gap missing there,
that's why.
Go watch the recap.
That's why. Go watch the recap.
I didn't fear committing any crime as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value I had decided to uphold. It wasn't something I'd learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. I thought back to when I'd first come to Hinamizawa. About how on the very first day Sadako would welcome me via a blackboard eraser with a rock in it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me.
And what a great story, with emotional connections.
Yes. She would laugh, get angry, cry. She was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike one among us, but she was actually lively, full of vim and vigor, and good at meddling in other people's business. That went for Mion, Renner, and Rika-chan too.
But they were less important in this arc.
Wasn't Sadako the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Sadako would try to look cool. Then Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Sadako would cry, which would put Renner in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. And I happened to get mixed up in it.
Do you think that Ryukishi has this sentence written down as a flowchart for all the club scenes?
Maybe he does.
I would not be surprised at all.
We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Sadako. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us.
Tragedy struck.
And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying.
Is it?
For them, it is.
It was just like when I was silently going to cram school every day, just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling.
Also, I do like this line. When I was silently going to cram school every day just to maintain my unchanging test scores.
Yeah.
The whole idea being that, like, you should be progressing in your education, but, like, if he's going to cram school and he's still keeping up with the flow of information, that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's just, like, recontextualized it to fit the way he perceives it.
Of course, yeah.
Which is a really neat detail.
Yeah, no, totally. It's all about, like, what these characters care about, which I gel with a lot.
So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable.
I don't know if that last one's true.
There are some there's some people who don't like Sadako. I can tell you that much.
In that case, I was her Shrek, searching for the dragon's castle in order to win her smile back.
That's damn right. The Shreks, yeah?
Shreks, of course, use swords.
Thank you.
The awesome two-handed kind.
Hell yeah.
And probably the only Shrek in the history of the world. I shouldn't have done this. To be taking someone with a thick, rusty hatchet.
No, this is perfect.
I saw an old woman in the ridge of a swamp waving to me. Oh.
Something. Oh my, Shrek-kun. Out for morning ride, I see.
Good morning. I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way.
This is my village.
Should I really have been feeling so happy waving like that? Sadako's house would be right past this road going beyond the rice paddies.
It's awful. We're going to murder. We shouldn't be this happy.
What do you mean? That's the best part.
You're right.
The cicadas had woken up too, and the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus.
No. That's what they sound like.
Cicadas,
we're turning into a Disney or a DreamWorks movie.
Cicadas like Morse coding the fucking financial updates.
Yeah, of course they are.
How else are they going to get financial news in tiny villages?
It's the cicadas. That's what they say.
I gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath and tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing had been an illusion, or that I'd killed him and he'd risen from the dead. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But it being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. If that had been an illusion, then that would make all of this Hinamizawa I was in right now an illusion.
Like a dream.
If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to a traffic accident, and I was currently dreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in rice paddies like these.
This is the kind of line when 3 arcs later, Ryukishi drops it on us that this is exactly what happened.
No comment. I'm not even gonna. I've been in this exact situation, seen a line like that told me the whole story in the first 20 minutes of like a 30-hour novel, 60-hour novel. So yeah, I totally feel that.
That was a terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only possible answer was that he'd resurrected. It would make him a literal monster. Is what?
A literal Shrek. Wait, no. A Farquaad. Make him a real Farquaad of a guy.
But if he was such a monster, then I was no less than a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and I could even manipulate curses. Takano-sana died probably because I'd cursed her.
Did you know that Farquaad came back? You know that was the thing?
Yes, I did, Ben.
In Shrek 4D?
I'm cutting this.
Fuck you.
Or maybe that was a little much. If Coach Inuishi died too, then I'd cursed him too, If Coach Inuishi died too, like I'd cursed him too yesterday, then I'd believe it. I set my bicycle aside and went to take a look. His motorbike wasn't here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to hell that night, throwing it into Onigafuchi Swamp.
What?
Just,
you okay?
Just the idea of Keiichi, like, in a maddened state, rocking up to his house, stealing his bike, riding it off, throwing it in, and then just showing up to the festival like, hey guys!
That's good! By the blood, it's tomato sauce!
Everyone's like, what's all the mud on your shirt, Keiichi? He's like,
chocolate!
I just went for a swim. There's no pool in town, Keiichi.
I went in the swamp! Yeah! It was great!
Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't there, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either. The fact his bike wasn't here might have been because he'd gone to town and hadn't come back. Not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. If her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on its own. Then I would just show myself in and wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was there. Forgotten sensations came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison dulling my actions, but it could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken my superhuman otherworldly self. I held the hatchet still wrapped in newspaper. Its weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I didn't know what time it was without a clock, but it was probably still a little before 7. Sadako would probably be awake preparing breakfast and her lunch, but her uncle would probably still be wallowing in indolence. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late drinking and probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Sadako open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I'd waste my chance of him still being asleep. If Sadako saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Sadako responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside. Maybe that would do it. How would Sadako react to that? She'd probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I'd have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Sadako didn't need to know that a murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much just standing around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Sadako's house hit me. At the entrance, there are a few pairs of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not just by looking at them.
I feel as though, in a house populated by a small girl and a large overweight man, the shoes would be fairly obvious.
You think so?
Yeah, Teppei also doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's really going to have a lot of shoes either.
Who knows? He has his friends over, doesn't he?
Ah, you're right. Maybe that's, oh my goodness. Is Keiichi about to just kill all of them?
I'd be pretty into that.
Oh, I'd be so into that.
Yeah.
I could hear a television on somewhere.
You could do it?
No?
That's so mean.
I mean,
I think he could murder everyone if he... Look, he could have murdered all those police officers. I'm just saying. We got away from that scene very quickly. Maybe he just murdered every police officer.
I feel like most people in a combat situation vastly overestimate their abilities.
It's true.
And Keiichi already being smaller than them with no fighting abilities is just...
I mean, you're right. Like when he was like, I could kill Teppei in 1500 seconds and then you had to like chase him through the woods. That's great.
Yeah.
Shout out to that scene. Like half an hour of like, and then I hit him again, and he still wouldn't die. Yeah.
The television was in the messy dining room. There was food scattered about on the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family meal time.
TM.
I'm glad you caught that.
Thank you.
Do you think Ryukishi set this picture up or found this like this and took a picture of it?
I like to believe that he set it up, that he took all the time to like very carefully place every piece of this
because like the
image.
things right in the corner of frame are still tidily put on shelves.
Yeah.
It's only
the middle
like,
is a mess. Yeah. I like to think that he spent a very long time compositing this shot.
Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it, meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal.
Damn.
Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. But with a television on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming and be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight, that I thought it would choke me. The newspaper wrapping the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip on it and very carefully took a look around. Where had those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves.
I thought he was about to get into some food description.
Yeah.
Just like, even the sound of sweet bubbling tea.
Sweet bubbling tea. And then I realized there was a tea shop out back.
And then I looked at the table and realized something.
Huh?
This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Then was it last night's dinner?
I don't know why we got the creepy sounds for that.
It's creepy food, dude.
Like, oh no!
It's ghost. That's the food we give to ghosts.
It's a messy table. Nothing in this story has been spookier.
There's ghosts in that food. Watch out!
It's literally just Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Who's been eating my porridge?
I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, went down the hallway and found the stairs to the second floor. When that man was playing with his friends, he looked out of a second-story window. It was highly possible that room was his own and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edges of the stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up here. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening the paper doors, checking inside, but I still couldn't find anyone around. To search more efficiently, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room, and a low hum, perhaps of boiling water. It was then that I started to harbor some feeling of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back into the dining room.
You know that, like, in reality we're going third person here, and it's just like as you're stepping down the stairs.
Yeah. Quiet stairs.
I looked at the food scattered about. Completely dried up rice, an overturned bowl of miso soup, the package for side dish bought at the supermarket. I could tell Sadako definitely being the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house and from the type and amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night.
Excellent reasoning, Keiichi.
From the way things were, I deduced the way that it was.
Yeah.
The number stamped under the food package read 830620.
I deduced by the fact that the TV's power button was red, that the screen was in fact off. Right?
June 20th, 1983. That was yesterday.
So that was when the food was eaten.
And there was food for two.
Damn.
Which meant that this was last night's dinner and Sadako's uncle would have been here then. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night. That much was the truth. He had found fault with Sadako's food, threw in the bowl of miso soup and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within my feelings of calm and composure was a lit flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy?
Nah.
I heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler.
What's boiling water?
What was it coming from?
Making some tea, you know.
The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe?
I deduced by the sound of boiling water that someone was boiling water. For tea, maybe. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
Introduce that.
Okay, thank you. I've stopped to think momentarily.
Ah, crap. What are you thinking about?
Let's just say he's rocked up at this house. And he's rocked up like 5 minutes too late for someone else already coming for Teppei. So he's walked into this house and he's like, I'm here to kill Teppei. What? Where's he gone?
Where has he gone?
And now Teppei's actually gone missing, and Keiichi's gonna both think that him being the narcissist he is, he's probably gonna think that the demon him did it and didn't show it to him or something.
Sure. I know, dude. I know. I demand you to show me foreshadowing.
There's a shadow right there behind the laundry basket.
That doesn't count. Also, we can barely see that. We can barely make that out with the way this photo's been done. Shadows not as important as that beautiful white towel in the middle.
You're right. That's way too clean of a towel for a house like this.
It's true. It's been barely used.
I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room.
Then again, he might just never have had a shower, so it's never been used, and that's why it's so clean.
Maybe he drip dries. Maybe he just goes outside on the balcony, and he just lets it all hang out, and he dries.
No, thank you.
It had to have been the sound of the water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door, and the heat from it was leaking into the changing room where I was standing, too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. I, as someone who gets up this early in the morning, would like to protest this fact.
What time is it again?
It's like 7 a.m.
Why wouldn't you have a bath this early in the morning? I have a shower this early in the morning. I could make it a bath if I had a bath.
If one did, then it would mean that in this house, time had been stopped ever since some moment last night.
Why wouldn't you have a bath in the morning? What's wrong with a morning bath?
Especially in the heat of summer where you're sweating all night.
People do that to get themselves clean and get their skin all supple with soap and shit. I'm just saying, if I had a bath, I'd have a bath every morning. It'd happen.
I just, this scene has already been a bit loopy, but somehow this is the most off-base thing this entire chapter.
I'm completely with you. Normally I'm sitting here but maybe it has another meaning. Nope. Keiichi's lost it. He's insane. He's done for. He's like, baths in the morning?
No!
What is this apocalypse?
Possible.
Dietitian's eating cupcakes? What is this?
Dietitian's eating cupcakes. You're the one explaining that in the comments.
I will.
Was it being reheated?
That scene.
The water boiler in the bathroom had been active this whole time. I checked in a clothing basket and saw Sadako's familiar uniform stuffed in it.
I need a moment.
The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it. Certainly not something she could wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through all the steam. And then an electric surge ran through my mind, and a terrible premonition came over me.
Someone was having a bath in the morning?
Oh, no.
Could she? She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible.
Fucking hell.
We ruined the scene.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What is this rubbish?
I take at least 50% of the responsibility, but we have ruined this completely. It's supposed to be a really tragic, oh god, what if? But no,
the
this
worst
is ludicrous.
part is if he's right, that's just the worst.
But no, in Hinamizawa right now, nothing was impossible.
Not even possible.
I gulped audibly, and quietly pulled aside the glass door.
No, you have to pull this through. This is all you, man.
Oh, I know.
Good luck.
Hot steaming air burst out of the slight opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it went completely white with steam.
Okay, good.
Let's go.
Get rid of those dumb shadows.
Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooler air flowed into the room with the bath.
Oh, good.
And I just heard, due to being hit by that air, a very weak moan.
Oh, no.
That was all I needed to know who it was. Sadako! No answer. Sadako was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out.
It is fucked up. For all the humor we've been going through, this is fucked up.
The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise as if angered. I could see the gas flame through a small window. It was roaring at full force, completely blue. Sadako's entire body was boiled red and flaccid as though her bones had melted away.
Yep.
She was almost like a doll as she laid there unconscious.
Yep.
I don't want what I think is about to happen on my screen.
I don't know what you think is about to happen.
I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came back to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler. Then I dragged Sadako's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in public baths. Was she in this boiling water for the entire night? She'll die! She'll die! Sadako's body was lighter than I'd expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back into the bathroom and opened up the vent, creating a path for the cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Sadako moaned again. It'll be alright, Sadako, it's me, Keiichi. Keiichi! Can you hear me?
Keiichi-san.
Sadako recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous, didn't they call this heat stroke? Think what would the teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer doing a marathon in gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on and soaked a towel in it. Then I took the cold towel and pressed it to Sadako's forehead. Sadako reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right, you would soak the burn spot under running water. And could I run cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? No, if it was that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart. She'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. This was about as much nursing as I could possibly give her.
You know, for all of the weird and stupid things that Keiichi said,
Yeah.
his advice in this moment is not terrible.
It's not. Do you know more about what he should be doing? Do you have any clue? Because this seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, this is relatively reasonable.
Yeah.
At the same time, the first step would probably be to call an ambulance.
It probably would. Yeah.
And then follow the advice that they give you.
You're right.
More pertaining directly to the situation.
Correct. You shouldn't be just guessing. You should be calling someone to help.
Yeah, like if you're out in the bush with no way to contact someone, different situation where this is not a terrible response.
You know what, though? It's all right. He can just call the area clinic, and I'm sure that...
You're right!
I'm sure that area will be happy to help him.
Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur. What happened, Sadako? You're all right now. Your Nini will save you for sure.
5,039?
What was Sadako reciting under her breath? I brought my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment I understood what they were for. Sadako, you're counting? Why? People tell little kids in the bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Sadako's counting like that. But 5,039? You moron. How long were you supposed to count in your own bathtub?
10,000.
I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000? You're a freaking idiot. What kind of dumbass can count to 10,000?
This is an all.
That's literally impossible.
I can never count that many numbers.
But then again, nothing is impossible in Hinamizawa.
Oh, shit.
There's no way you could do that. You'd boil to death before you got that far. Why were you?
My uncle.
Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at the dinner she'd made, saying it stunk and was inedible. Sadako didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables she'd bought in particular.
I'm interested that we potentially actually got, like, a resolution to that tip so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we're right at the end, so there isn't any other way that could have...
Escalation, boys. Yeah. Yep. That's what we're doing now. We're escalating. These tips are becoming what's happening in the scene.
Yeah.
And we're very quickly getting to the end.
Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables she'd bought in particular. Her uncle then decided the stink was originating from Sadako and shouted at her that she never ever took baths. And then he put Sadako in the boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted to...
Is it Keiichi?
It must be Keiichi.
I'll kill you!
My hair went gold.
Oh, really? Only gold? Not, like, whatever the next tier of...
Who cares? All the other tiers are dumb. Anyway.
Even the first tier is
it.
dumb.
It is. My power level is increasing, so I can just flick my fingers and you're dead. And that's the fight.
I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper wrapped up hatchet, I stampeded through the house.
Whee!
I searched for anything, traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats.
You searched for heartbeats?
I pulled up my heartbeat sensor.
Yeah. With a war cry, I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found the futon in the room I thought to be our uncle's, and well aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I'll bust the entire closet down, door and all. And if he's not there, maybe there's a secret door. Any switches or levers in the walls here?
We've already had a secret room, Keiichi, I'm sorry.
There's only one.
I smashed her into wall after wall with a hatchet, crushing them. Dust rose into the air and broken pieces scattered about the floor.
Ugh, I hate that sound effect. It's so unpleasant.
It's a good one.
I smashed all the glass windows, too, for good measure. After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and I suppressed my emotions. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I had to do something about Sadako.
I feel like you've gone full Joker with that voice. Just like, it's just happening.
I wear my inspirations on my sleeve, Ben.
It's great. Well,
I went back to the changing room. Sadako was still lying limp on the floor. There was nothing more an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Keiichi treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in a mental hospital. I never wanted to see his damn face again, but still I needed to go to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have a doctor look at Sadako. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform lying in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it'd be pretty difficult.
Does he never dressed himself? His mother still does that for him?
I think so. He gets out of the bath, he's like, Mom, I can't go outside looking like this. Mother, come and put clothes on me, please.
Shit, I don't have time to be wasting here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in her bath towel.
Well, it's a good thing he put that towel on.
The clinic was close to Sadako's house. It'd be way faster to carry her there than to call 119 and get an ambulance. I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand. Can you stand? I'll carry you to the clinic.
I should carry her to the clinic and have her stand up. Can you stand? Yeah, Higurashi does it.
Thank you.
The words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improved even a little bit. Sadako turned over so she was lying on her face and then put up a weak struggle to get up on a knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off.
The towel, it hurts.
We'll be there soon, it won't be long, so stay strong. Didn't hurt one bit to carry Sadako, she was light. Too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside it had gotten hotter as though eager to attack Sadako. Fucking cicadas, why did it have to choose this morning to get so hot out? Didn't have time to swear at them, but
I just did!
Come on. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Sadako on my back, I broke into a trot.
Nice.
Oh.
There you go, that's it.
I guess this isn't the video.
I guess it'll be the next one, maybe.
Maybe.
Best of luck to us. We'll march on through.
With great tenacity and power, as people who take baths in mornings.
It's true. To the area clinic!